Hello, this is Mary Bush with Stampin' in the Sand. Thanks for joining me for our OpenSea Card Class to Go video series. Today we're going to be making the first card in our Class to Go, this You Made My Day card. From your card kit that you received in the mail, you will need to bring in your Night of Navy cardstock layer. This layer contains all of the materials that you will need to complete your card, with the exception of your adhesive and your inks for stamping your images. So we're going to start with our Night of Navy cardstock base. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and you're going to score it at 4 1/4. That will form your card base. You can put that aside. You also have your white piece, your Old Olive piece, and your Night of Navy piece to create your main image panel here on the front of your card. Your Old Olive cardstock that's been pre-embossed. I have pre-embossed it with the Arrows Textured Impressions folder by Stampin' Up. If you don't currently own this folder, you can purchase it in my online store. And I have all of the details for how you can purchase all of the materials used in today's card posted on my blog. And I have the direct links posted in the description of this video below. So here's your embossed panel. That's going to be for the front of your card. You also have a small piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is scrap. We're going to be stamping our globe image in Old Olive on this piece of scrap, punching it out and adhering it with dimensionals on the front of our card. This small piece of white scrap, this is for your greeting. I've cut mine out using the small banner from the Bitty Banners Framelits die set. If you do not own this die set, you can just take your paper snips and snip your own flagged corners, or if you prefer, you can choose another punch rather that you already own. Or if you happen to have it, the triple banner punch from Stampin' Up would be perfect for punching your flagged ends, if you happen to own that. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to bring in our OpenSea stamp set, and we are going to choose the globe image from inside our set. We are going to mount that on one of our clear blocks right here. We're going to mount that. Next, we're going to bring in our Old Olive ink pad. We're going to ink up our globe image, making sure that we get good coverage. I already got ink on mine. And we're just going to stamp that onto our piece of small scrap here. Put that aside to dry for a second. Okay. Next, I'm going to come in with my scrap, my small scrap here for my sentiment. We're going to bring in our Night of Navy ink pad. And I've chosen the Just Because from my And Many More stamp set. For this video series, I've chosen this stamp set simply because there's so many options here that I'm sure I can find something for my cards, and I felt it was just easier for this series to just choose one sentiment stamp set instead of showing you a whole bunch of different greetings from different stamp sets. So I'm going to ink this Just Because up in my Night of Navy and stamp it down on my scrap and set that aside for a moment. Okay. Now on this piece of white cardstock that's included in your kit, what I have done is I have lined it up in the center, or centered rather, on my grid paper. And I'm not going to do it here in the video because it'll take too much time, but then I inked up my globe image and I stamped that on either end, leaving, or trying to leave the best I could, the same amount of distance from from end to end and an equal amount of distance in the middle. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to come in with our globe that we stamped. I'm going to attach this, figure out how I want to do this here, to a Post-it note. I'm going to bring in my 2-inch circle punch from Stampin' Up! And I'm going to center this inside my punch. And line that up and pop that out. Okay. Okay, so now we have all of our stamping done and we can start to assemble our card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my card base, give that a nice crisp crease with my bone folder. Then I'm going to come in with my Tombow liquid glue and apply some glue to the back of my Old Olive pre-embossed panel. And centered that down on my card. Make sure I'm happy with it. Okay. Next, I can assemble the rest of my layers. So we're going to bring in our Night of Navy and our Old Olive. Apply glue to the Old Olive. Now, if you don't have liquid glue, you could use snail or you could use fast fuse. I'm just using the liquid glue because it's a little easier and it gives me some wiggle room for lining up my edges perfectly before it sets. Okay, so now that's done. Now I'm going to come in with my Whisper White. Now for my Whisper White, I am going to use snail or fast fuse. This is fast fuse. The reason for that is that I am finding that when I use the liquid glue with the Whisper White, you can I don't know what you're seeing, but you can kind of see some raised areas where the glue is even after it's dry. I don't know, maybe I'm too heavy with my glue. So I'm going to line this up. Onto my Old Olive. And then I'm going to take my globe image that I punched and I'm going to bring in some dimensionals and add those to the back. And then I can position my globe centered the best I can. Whoops, it has to go this way. Centered the best I can onto the front of my card. And here's where you can also add a little bit of your own creativity here. I'm going to flat glue my panel on to the front of my card simply because I think sometimes you add too many layers and then, excuse me, they're very difficult to mail. But if you wanted to, you could certainly put this up on dimensionals. Okay, so I'm going to glue this onto the front of my card. Okay, so now it's going to be time for your sentiment. Now I have gone ahead for time and I have already cut out my Just Because with, again, the Itty Bitty Banners Framelits dies. Again, if you don't have those dies, you can certainly use a punch if you prefer. And I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back. And add this to the front of my card. Let's see, decide where I want it. Sometimes that takes more time than anything else. Okay, and there it is, our very first card in the OpenSea Card Class to Go is complete. That was easy peasy, quick and easy. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again for video number 2. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye.